going to call the Midvale Planning Commission meeting to order. It's October 22nd, 2025. Robin is not here, so I'm going to be leading. We're going to start this meeting like we do all of ours. We're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance, if you can stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, can we get a roll call vote, please? Or not a vote, a roll call.
Vice Chair Nixon.
Here.
Commissioner Tippett? Here. Commissioner Snow?
Here.
Commissioner Lidke?
Here.
Commissioner Edwards?
Here.
Commissioner Kasparian?
Here.
Thank you. Did we all have a chance to review the minutes?
Yes, I did.
Any comments?
I had none.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes from October 8th, 2025.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you for that. Let's get on to the public hearing portion. Number A on the agenda, we have Daniel Herzog requests preliminary subdivision approval for a 16-lot subdivision located at 743 West Bingham Junction Boulevard in the Jordan Bluff sub-areas 1 through 3 development, JB 1-3 Pod C zone. Jonathan Anderson is presenting.
Thanks, Chair Erickson. So like you said, this is for a preliminary subdivision. This is for phase 2 of the Jordan Heights project by Homes Development. It is at the southern end of the city. You can see there phase 1, I believe, is pretty much complete, right? Yeah, pretty much complete. So here's just the preliminary plat. And the site plan has previously been approved. It was approved by city staff a couple of years ago. So this is just for the subdivision of the property. You will see some future subdivisions as these are condominium buildings. This is just the overall subdivision for the individual lots for those buildings. So you will see more of this in the future. And then we just have the findings and conditions as what was in the staff report for this project. So any questions? I did not get any public comment on this. Thank you. Cool.
Not at this time.
And Daniel is here if you have any questions for him.
Yeah, Daniel, if you'd like to come up. You don't have to, but if you'd like to. Give us more detail than Johnny was.
It's pretty simple. Since it's a second phase, it's good. But I just wanted to just mention that how great it's been to work with the group led by Gwendolyn. It's been and Jonathan and Elizabeth. It's been absolutely spectacular. So just probably one of the best planning divisions in the state, honestly. Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. But you will be seeing us come back in with all of the buildings. Hopefully, the first part of November. With every condo building on its own plat, it's going to be a long list, but basically the same thing over and over. So we'll be back for that.
Okay.
Any questions at all for us?
I appreciate the sidewalk you got put in, though. It's nicer than running on the road.
It's wide enough. It's definitely wide enough.
Yeah.
And then the trail will come in along there that's finishing up as well. It's going to be at a spectacular spot. Yeah. So anyhow.
Excellent. Yeah, we're good. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your
Yeah,
time.
and thank you for the fair warning.
Yes.
Yes, we'll keep our eyes out.
It'll be almost comical. We'll have, yeah.
We'll try and laugh.
We'll bring refreshments.
All right, I think we can open this up for public hearing. It is set open.
Seeing no comments, I move that we close the public hearing portion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you for that. I'd like to bring in Daniel. Any words of wisdom from legal?
Well, you had me confused on the last time that Daniel was here, if you had any questions. So this being an administrative decision, it's for the Planning Commission to make. If it meets the requirements, you are required to approve it. If it doesn't, and in this case, as you've been briefed, it doesn't fully, you can deny it, or you can also approve it with conditions as what was recommended.
Right. And it sounds like there are conditions that Johnny has noted. So those will carry with this. Yeah. Any comments, questions?
I just have a couple comments to the developer. I have had a lot of phone calls from owners in this project, or the third phase, I think.
First phase.
First phase?
First
That
phase,
was
the one
first
that
phase,
we've
okay.
done, and yeah.
Anyhow, they've made a lot of comments how that there is just not a lot of extra parking. And I know this meets the code for parking, but they just haven't had a lot of response from the HOA or from the developer about any possibilities of creating any additional parking somewhere or squeezing it in. So that's just I feel an obligation to pass those concerns on to you.
Yeah.
And also, they have also mentioned that they would like to put up banners on their balconies saying, "Do not buy in this project," because they're so upset about parking. And so I just think that that would be important for you to know, that there are some very irate owners of these condos that are concerned about parking and the lack of parking or the unenforcement of parking or whatever it may be. So just feel an obligation to pass on the chatter that I get to hear and let you hear it also.
I appreciate that. It's definitely one thing we've always been proud of is we actually have more parking than code requires. That being said, phase one has been going through the construction process, so the buildings have been going up, and so I think we're wrapping that up on that side. And I believe there's probably been some contractors that are probably snaking some of that parking. So that should be relieved now that I think as the final building gets up.
Okay.
But we appreciate it, and we'll definitely try to reach out and make sure everyone's feeling that they're being listened to.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
that's the only comments I had,
right.
is just to pass my earful that I've received
And we'll make sure
onto you.
we'll make sure as we go
I
forward.
want
our
you to feel the
contractors
pain that I have been feeling.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it. I understand. We'll definitely listen better.
Yeah,
Awesome. Any other comments, questions? Okay.
that's all
I'll
I
be
have.
talking to our HOA as well, so
Okay,
appreciate it.
thank you.
All right, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion. I move that we approve the preliminary subdivision located at 743 West Bingham Junction Boulevard with the findings and conditions noted in the staff report.
Second.
Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Vice Chair Erickson,
Yes.
Commissioner Tippett,
Yes?
Commissioner Snow,
Yes.
Commissioner Lidke,
Yes,
Commissioner Kasparian.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you. Please continue to work with staff. And we love them as well. They're great.
Thank you so much, you guys.
we'll see you again.
All right, item B that was noticed has been withdrawn from the agenda. So I just want to mention that, so if you were here for that, it's not coming up. On to item C. Midvale City Parks and Open Space Master Plan, which includes the impact fees, facilities plan, and Adam will present.
Thank you, Vice Chair and Planning Commissioners. I was just going to introduce this. We, as staff, with planning, engineering, and other divisions in the city, have been working on this Parks, Trails, and Open Space Master Plan for probably about the last year. And it is in a draft form ready to come to you for recommendation to the City Council. What this plan has looked at is our existing facilities in Midvale, what those contain, strategies for expanding our parks and open space network, and how we can improve the parks and open space areas that we have currently, in addition to expansion. I will note that one of the things that we found in doing this study was that basically from, I would say, west of I-15 is very well served by parks and open space network that we have. And when you get east of the freeway, that's where it really kind of goes down in what the facilities are for the residents, basically east of I-15. So you'll see that as the consultants go through the plan, you'll see that there are some areas that we call gaps in service. And we're looking to kind of close those gaps over time and how we can expand that network, whether it's through acquisition of property, whether it's through partnerships with, let's say, the school district or the county, in order to expand that. So I'll turn the presentation over to MHTN, who have been the lead consultants in this. And I will also just make note, and I believe they will as well, but part of this was to create an impact fees facilities plan, which basically shows us if we want to carry forward a level of service, what that will cost. This does not set impact fees. It does not give recommendations on what those impact fees are. It just simply, the plan states that for this level of service, it will cost this much, and then we would move on to the next step, which is the impact fee analysis, which has not been done, but the facilities plan is tied in with this. So with that, I'll turn it over, and feel free to ask questions along the way. We're hoping it can be a back and forth, so don't hesitate to jump in.
Thank you.
I was going to say good morning, but it's actually evening, so good evening. I'm Vince Alcott. I'm a Director of Landscape Architecture at MHTN, and this is Emily Singh. She's our one of our planners and community engagement specialists. We've had the opportunity to work with staff and others on this, and it's been interesting. We've also been helped by Horrocks engineers with some of the public engagement stuff, and also Alta Planning and Design, doing trails and active transportation, and then the IFFP was done by Zion's Public Finance, and we'll get into that here in a minute. All right, I'm going to see if this works. Today we're just going to go over a brief portion of it, and I think in your packet, or you have the whole plan to be able to look at. We're going to talk about the schedule, then Emily's going to go over some of the public feedback, then we'll get into some of the recommendations, and then we'll talk about the draft plan and some of the next steps. Again, this is just the overall schedule of our plan. Again, we are literally at the very tail end here, and so as we go through this, if you have any comments, please speak up or write them down so that we can incorporate them into the final plan. Now that I've done the introductions here, Emily's going to talk with you a little bit about the public engagement portion, which was somewhat lengthy. So, Emily.
Welcome back.
Okay, hello, nice to see you all again. So like Vince mentioned, we partnered with Horrocks to implement some of the strategies for public engagement. They were great to work with, and we love working with your community. Your residents always have something, very interesting to share about, what they love about the space and what they hope to see. So.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah.
Just to start off, I've seen you in some of those public engagements, and sometimes there are some contentious residents that approach you, and you handled them with such kindness and grace. I've just been very impressed with how you engage with the community, and we really appreciate it. I don't know if I'd have the patience that you do.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, it's been a great process. Yeah. So we've have several approaches, both online and in person. We had several communications and outreach go out through Engage Midvale, sharing the public survey and responses there. We had 234 responses overall, which was great, and Horrocks attended different focus groups and have done one-on-one meetings, also tabled at different parks like Bingham Junction, Midvale City Park, to get people who are, just there enjoying their day, and provide feedback that way. So in total, they passed out over 400 flyers to get people to take the survey. We've also hosted a booth at Los Muros on Main. Very well attended event. That was great to see, and it was great to see people of all ages participating, young to older folks. So it was great hearing their feedback there. We had about 150 plus interactions at that event. So, and in that stage of the project, we were looking to get feedback on some of the preferred scenarios, proposed trail networks, and other strategies that we have in the document. So they were able to share what they liked and didn't like about those. So I'll just hop into some of the key survey takeaways. So a lot of the residents that took their survey said that they use the park system on a weekly, daily basis, some monthly, some 17% rarely, very few never. And some of the most noted barriers to getting to some of these parks, just limited accessibility, so crossings, getting to and from different destinations, maybe lack of sidewalks. This was shared kind of a lot throughout the in-person and online responses. Some other ones were safety concerns, kind of aligned with the crossing responses, and lack of amenities, some people not finding the amenities they want or need at the parks. So that was specified there in the survey as well. And when looking at the types of amenities, people were really wanting walking and biking trails all together. I think the park systems and trail systems that are currently here, people are using but want to get to other destinations or have closer amenities near their places. So walking and biking trails were pretty prominent on the surveys. Some other things with dog parks, community gardens, splash pads, picnic areas. So just in general, like more amenities.
I thought that was really striking that walking and biking trails were so large.
Yes, yeah.
Which makes sense because that would probably be my preference too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and people were wanting, we'll show a little bit later here, but where you see some of the gap areas, it does kind of inform why there is this demand for walking and biking trails. And in the survey, people were also able to specify specific areas that they felt like needed better connectivity. So some were identified near Union Park, that crossing, getting from the nearby neighborhoods to there, some between 300 East, 700 East, across 7200 South, I-215. So some of those major corridors being impacting people's access to those amenities. And in general, just feeling like there's not many spaces for gathering sprinkled throughout the city. Okay, this slide here is not from the survey, but some general feedback that we heard from the booth at Los Miros on Main. We asked people to write or share their top 3 recommendations that we were presenting there. And just something to note, this is people who wanted to participate in this type of activity and followed through with the full top 3 choices. Some just said, I just want this one, and went for it. So just wanted to make that note. So the most ranked, or top answer was the Canal Trail extensions, wanting better connectivity from there and seeing that as an opportunity to increase access both from the north and south parts of the city. So they saw that as a major opportunity. Also, an extension to the Porter Rockwell Trail. Just being able to use the current Porter Rockwell Trail and having that be extended throughout the rest of the city be helpful. And then kind of throughout this chart here, you see mentionings of being able to cross 7200 South State Street, crossing improvements on Center Street, just overall improving that experience walking along there as well. And this aligns with some of the past plans with what people have said as well. Okay. And we had an activity here where people can vote for their top 3 choices and how the city can invest in parks, trails, and open space. Large response being building new trails, maintaining and improving what's existing, and then just expanding more amenities and recreational opportunities at these spaces. Some other general comments or themes that we've heard throughout the interviews, throughout the tabling events, people wanting to focus efforts in areas where there's gaps, where we've identified in kind of the eastern area of Midvale, improving crossings at major corridors, including more amenities. Some people mentioned having fitness challenges where people can explore different parks and trails throughout Midvale. I think there was a bit of lack of information online or what they're able to see. So most people were going to parks near their neighborhoods but didn't really explore any other places. So just wanting to know what's all out there. And yeah, just in general, expanding recreational services. And with the Jordan Bluffs Regional Park, I think some were also wanting that to include lots of different amenities since it is one of the larger parks in Midvale. Okay, I'll turn the time over to Vince to talk about recommendations.
We're tag teaming in, so I'm tagging in here for just a second. So we've got a series of recommendations that are in this plan, and of course, one of the first things we always do is we come up with a vision statement with the city staff and other stakeholders. So this is the vision statement that everything is based off. Is Midvale Parks and Open Space will meet the city's unique needs by providing all residents safe access and strengthened connectivity to a diverse network of high-quality parks, plaza, and linear open spaces featuring a wide variety of amenities to enhance community identity, health, and quality of life. So that basically is our vision that we've come up with help of the city, and hopefully it represents the city well. So following that, then we come up with a series of guiding principles followed by certain goals that, again, working with the city staff and other stakeholders. And so these are basically the 5 basic guiding principles. And so all of our recommendations are now based off of those. First one is connectivity and access with its series of goals. Then second one is innovative and multi-purpose use of the spaces. So it's not just one use for every space, that there's multiple uses, and it's something that's unique. Third one is resilience and environmental stewardship. Again, we want to make sure that things are taken care of, people aren't being hurt, that type of things, and then it's resilient. Fourth is community-centered and inclusive planning process. And again, throughout this, we want to make sure everything is transparent. People are included in that. We want to incorporate different historical landmarks and events. And there's some bilingual communication items also in here. And then the fifth thing then is this plan needed to have a clear path to implementation. So we'll go through some of that as we go through our recommendations here. As was mentioned earlier, we talked about the IFFP in terms of the level of service. So this is Zion's Bank. It's not Zion's Bank, it's Zion's Public Finance. I keep wanting to call it Zion's Bank, but they've done a wonderful job on this IFFP. And so over here on the right-hand side there, it gives different cities that are nearby or that have a level of comparison to give you. Right now, per 1,000 people, Midvale has about 0.54 acres per 1,000 people in terms of park space. So just understand this, the IFFP considers only system-wide park and trail facilities for this purpose of calculating it. The existing levels of service are based on a 2025 levels of service. And the project-wide park and trails facilities cannot be used to establish levels of service eligible to be maintained through the impact fees. So right now, the city manages a total of just about 80 acres of parks. Most of these park acres are either not owned by the city or they are jointly owned by the city and another entity. And so that does bring that level of service down. So a total of 20.67 acres of park are eligible or impact fee eligible. And that gives us our 0.54 acres per 1,000 people. So trails throughout the city, we have an existing level of service. Again, we have 416,000 square feet of asphalt trail. That was all fun to figure out. And then we have just about 356 square feet of concrete trails, which we've calculated. And you can see those different levels of service there. Over down at the bottom right-hand corner, then we're going to start talking about the existing and the proposed impact fee levels of service. And again, the existing is 0.54, the proposed is 0.54, so there wouldn't be necessarily any increase in the level of service there. And the same thing for the trails. Just understand this, that as we grow here, so the growth demand, so the declining levels of service that will occur due to the projected population growth in the next 10 years if there are no new facilities added. So basically what they're proposing here is over the next 10 years, they're projecting about 4,820 people growth in terms of the city. So in order to maintain that existing level of service, along with that population, that there needs to be about $1.7 million, $1.8 million worth of facilities constructed. And then down there's some other tables there that relate back to that. So, and then there's just, again, it just reinforces what they're telling us to maintain that level of service. Any questions up to this point?
I had a question why we chose some of the communities we did for contrast to levels of service, like Kearns. Kearns is not really directly adjacent, and so it's kind of an interesting segment to compare against.
Some of it may have to do with the size of the city or the park system that's there. I don't know exactly why they chose those. We can ask them. But yeah, typically that's related back to more of like a city size or a population size, or just their park system is somewhat similar.
Thank you.
All right, so this one here is, this map here is showing the level of service and also the gap. So basically what we've done is we've put a big circle, again, around each type of park, and there's different types of parks. So in Midvale, we have local parks, neighborhood parks, and community parks, and then there's larger parks on top of that. So we put a circle, basically 0.25 miles around every local park, and those green. Neighborhood parks is a half mile, and then community parks is 1 mile. And then what we've done is we've come up with these areas in the city where there are gaps in what's covered. And so that's important to note. And then you can see also starting to show up on this are the trails and pathways. So we've labeled basically 5 gaps where there at this moment they're not covered by a city park. This one is when we start adding in more of kind of the regional type parks that are around. Maybe they're just outside of the city. And again, you can see that there's still a couple of gaps that are left to remain, one on basically the very north end and the other one down towards the south. And that's the future level of service that you're looking at. Again, there are basically those 2 areas that are missing. When we start talking about trails and we add that into here, so this is a map of the trail system as it exists. You have basically the 5 major trail networks, or the primary networks that run through the city. And then you have these dashed lines that are basically desired networks, where they're going to propose to bring in additional trails or amenities on those trails. And then there's a series of secondary networks also in there. And then there's school properties and project areas that we're talking about and how they're connected by trails. And this goes back to, like, people want more trails, they want more connection to different things. Questions?
So I feel like there's and maybe it's just how the impact fee study portion works.
Sure.
Maintaining the level of service in 10 years, where we can currently see there's not enough level of service. So if we were to maintain 2025 level of service for 2035, I understand the population increases, but if we're currently at maybe what we would consider a lower level of service than we want to be at.
Sure.
So I guess maybe the impact fees aren't addressing the improvement. Is that correct? Okay.
Okay.
I understand better.
Okay.
Okay. It's just under a different umbrella than I was thinking.
Correct. And the plan, attached to that plan at the end is the actual IFFP, and it will answer it much better than I can.
Okay.
So, then we get down into kind of like a prioritization and an anticipated time frame for different things, and so this is also part of the plan. So we've got a short-term phase of things that can be readily achieved right now. Midterm phase, that would be like 2 to 5 years to accomplish some of these, and then a long-term, which would be 5+ basically. And noted in those are the different parks and the trails that are associated with those. I'll let you take a look at it for a minute and then let me know when you're ready, and we'll keep going on. Any questions on this?
Was there any mention of the, I know it was on our ballot, about a new, was it community center, rec center at Union Park? Did that ever come up?
Not to my knowledge,
Okay.
it didn't come up.
Okay.
Not that I remember.
Pretty major
Yeah,
thing to talk about if we're going to talk about parks.
yeah, because I know a lot of people were looking forward to that, but I haven't heard anything since then. So I just didn't know if it was captured in this study.
Is that rec center, is it associated with the library?
No.
Okay.
That's the park on the east side of the city that they're looking at putting in a community center, rebuilding or
Okay.
putting in a new aquatic center in there, closer to the high school. And
I do remember in some of our steering committee meetings, it was brought up, but because it's a county facility, it
Right.
would be more maintained by
Correct.
the county. It wasn't so much reflected in this plan, but it was discussed.
Okay, that
If
makes
Yes,
happens, it
that
will.
makes sense.
Yeah, Union Park's kind of a albatross.
Yeah,
because
we've accounted for it in the study, in that it serves the Midvale
Yeah.
residents, but it was noted that it's a county-owned facility.
Correct.
Right.
That is correct.
Okay.
Okay. Then there's some of these trail recommendations as we go through this. And this is just one of them, and you'll notice in your full packet, it has trail recommendations for every single one. So just note that it's in here, and there's recommendations for each type of trail, active transportation area, and then that there's a couple of things associated with that. So they go into, in the plan, into different things that can be done to augment these trails and these pathways to enhance them. All right, Emily, I think you're up. You get all of the parks.
Thanks. And something to note with the trail system, part of this plan kind of had to think creatively about how to use small areas of space, especially when people are wanting more amenities and kind of a better experience. to and from different destination, to and from different parks. So that's where this slide is coming from, to kind of enhance those spaces, incorporate green infrastructure, places for seating, shade, to, I guess, create a park experience extended throughout the trail system. So that's where Alta Planning provided these recommendations.
So did that go back to the linear part that you had mentioned earlier? So this is that element, the linear, okay,
Yep.
connecting dots.
Okay, and this is a little section from the document that you might have seen. They got sectioned out to the existing conditions of the park, kind of addressing some of the challenges, assets, different opportunities that are currently existing. Also shares a little bit of information about the ownership size, things like that. And then on the right hand, showing what could be proposed on the parks, providing some example imagery of, what amenities could be there, their alignment to the guiding principles, how they've addressed or aligned with some of the feedback of wanting more pathways, better connections, thinking about signage and wayfinding nearby the parks as well. So that's kind of how these are formatted, and we've gone through and looked at it for each park for city-owned or owned by other parks, just so it's captured in there. Another thing to note is we've included, or we've mentioned some of the other previous plans that were done with the State Street Study, station area plans for Eaton Corridor. As spaces like those develop and there's opportunities for maybe some parks, additional open space trails, that's considered as well.
On that green space marked number 9, is that city-owned? It says wetland.
Yes.
Yeah.
That city-owned, is it accessible?
Not right now.
Okay. I didn't even know that was there.
Yeah, not at the moment. And for this park, some of the recommendations are just like, educational pieces about some of the wetlands area, connection to the Jordan River Trail that's to the west of it, and providing more, north-south pathways. So making the space a little more inviting and interesting to walk through.
Maybe just a side comment. That wetland area, the easiest way to see it is if when you are in Bingham Junction Park, you take that trail that dead ends at the Jordan River, and on the left side, that's where all that wetland area is.
And is there a little lake in there
When it rains? No.
when it rains?
Yeah,
That's wet?
there's water. The city actually has spent over the last, I would say, year, quite a bit of time to manage the invasive species in there. So there have been volunteers with Tate from GIS pulling out invasive species, and then there's been some replanting of better species, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Any other questions here? No? Okay. That was a great segue into talking about maintenance and implementation. So for the park section, some ways to, carry out some of these efforts could be having them phased in, so they don't impact, park usage and other things. It's still a good experience, but they can get phased in over time to, enhance the overall vision. And then with maintenance, adopt a park or trail programs to get the community involved. That could be, one way to help, increase, stewardship of the environment that's in Midvale, get people together and increase their awareness about different parks and what's needed to maintain these facilities. So that could be a good educational experience. Potentially thinking about revenue-generating amenities. This might be more likely for like Midvale City Park, during events and other things, ways to offset maintenance cost and reinvest back into the system. Vince mentioned this earlier, but shared use agreements with different faith-based institutions, schools, other partners to provide additional space for parks. Thinking about what type of plantings, water usage and mitigation that way. Only providing things that are with high ecological and recreational value, and then thinking about grant and foundation support. So, some other things to consider for revenue. This is presented in the IFFP, and they've kind of pointed out grants, bonds, interfund loans, transfer from general fund, impact fees, and anticipated or accepted dedications of system improvements. Those are all talked about in the IFFP, and just some things to consider when thinking about park and trail funding. And lastly, just with the parks and trails plan, I think there's been a bit of demand from the community wanting to know, like, okay, what else is out there? What is around me? So having that be in a readily available space online or in person, with signage, a dedicated spot in the city website where people can look at what to explore in the city. I think having user-friendly and bilingual maps and signage can get people of different backgrounds out to these spaces, partnering with local schools, nonprofits, businesses. I think having events and newsletters kind of throughout the year to help people see these different spaces and connect with community members that way. And that could also be a good avenue for sharing those volunteer opportunities to get people involved. So some next steps after today and after our City Council presentation, I'd like to take that feedback and get that incorporated into the document. Get it out to all of you. So I will just leave it at that. But it's, again, been really great to work with your community and your staff. Shout out to Laura as well for helping with public engagement. She's amazing. But yeah, any questions?
Will there be a parks department that will be created that manages? Like, I'm thinking how to advertise the parks, how to have community engagement in the parks. Would there be
It's just probably
a
Laura.
centralized group of community and city leaders that would try and facilitate? Like, I was thinking, that'd be fun to have a movie in the park, but to have it at a different park each month.
Yeah, I could see something like that going to, if the community council wanted to take on something like that, but I don't believe that there would be like a full-fledged parks department. It would be in coordination with communication, council members, maybe the council. But
We're not Pawnee. Funny joke. I don't have anything. No?
No.
Great job.
Great presentation.
And thanks for being
Thank
at
you.
APA too.
Yes.
I said hi to APA.
It's great to see you. Okay, well, thank you.
All right, so this is on our public hearing portion. So I'm going to open this up for public hearing.
Seeing that there is none, I will make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. I think Daniel?
This is a legislative decision, so you have more discretion as to what you can do on this one. But ultimately, it's for the city council to decide on, and you're going to be making a recommendation, and that can include any of the changes you'd like to see.
I just wonder, not to be the bad guy here, but at the end of the survey that they sent out with the 234 people, if the last question was, would your answer change if your taxes went up or if this fee was assessed, how many people's answer would stay the same? Because, I mean, yeah, park's great, fun, but to tack on, you know, like another fee to a builder or raise our taxes, I don't know if I want it that bad.
I mean, if it's tacked on to a developer, I'm not as heartbroken, but that's coming from my perspective.
I know a lot of people that are turning
Yeah.
down projects in Murray City right now because of their parks.
Because of their, yeah.
I mean, but their level of service also was
It's
immense.
next level,
It was
yeah.
8
Yeah.
times compared to ours, so.
Yeah, so that's an important thing to
But
know.
their fee is, on average, it's equal to or more than your permit for a house.
Okay.
So, I mean, maybe that's egregious, but.
But they're same boat. They weren't charging enough, so they were playing catch up. I don't want us to fall into that same.
Yeah. Well, we don't want to promise the
all this
moon.
low income
Yeah.
housing, but then we're going to keep just tacking on little fees to the builders. This is like, where do we stop? How do we make housing want to come here if we keep putting fees?
But a lot of the housing that has been encouraged to build here, just because of housing demands, requires more open space.
But I
So,
don't think we're counting that in this, which I think
Yeah.
we should.
It's true too.
yeah.
One way to think about this is also that, you know, what you are looking at is really, it's a master plan. I mean, or you can say, you know, we've been doing quite a bit of long-range planning. It's a general plan element. And that's the first step, you know, in long-range planning to know, you know, what am I shooting for in ideal conditions? This is, you know, what makes sense, what's consistent. Where to come up with the funding, you know, is a different story. I mean, if you think back to the last 2 years, the people in Midvale actually, as citizens, have been willing to tax themselves with the bond that got passed. So,
Maybe after this year they'll change that. I just got my tax notice and
yeah, of course.
that was a tough one to swallow.
One never knows. But right now we're talking about, you know, the technical aspects of what makes sense for us with, you know, the assets that we have in parks and the few trails we have. How to finance it, you know, a totally different story. Impact fees is, you know, that's one possible tool, but there are many others.
No, I would rather impact fees than taxes. Not gonna lie.
But perhaps this is before the cart before the horse, because we just need the vision first, and then
Yeah,
we
but
put our staff in charge of
I'm
figuring out.
worried that if we go down that, there's no turning back.
Yeah,
I think we need to have a vision. If we don't have a vision, then we're not going to improve or develop or do anything with our public recs. So this is all a total waste, and we shouldn't even be doing this if we don't want to have to worry about paying for anything. And the pain can be, you know, a lot of these things that we have talked about improving in trails have been grants from the federal government and from the state that has helped to, that will help mitigate that and stuff. And so I'm all for that, but I think we have to have a vision. And then as part of that vision is you know what, how do we do it? And, you know, when there's opportunities to widen or improve 7200 with the state, then we can incorporate some of these parks or bike lanes and stuff like that.
If you, I agree with you, but let's say in 2 years, they decided to move ahead with this, so, and they decide not to do an impact fee, but taxes, so we get taxed, and then the county says, yeah, we're willing to go ahead and move forward with your community center, and then our taxes go up for that. then it's like,
It is a concern,
Yeah.
but also we
I mean,
see.
that's what I'm thinking of. I
Yeah.
would love to have parks, but I think we need to, along with figuring out how we're gonna and what we're gonna, it's, financial part of it is bigger to me.
Yeah,
That's just me.
yeah,
But isn't that kind of part of this plan, is figuring that out?
yeah.
I mean, it's not setting anything in stone, it's opening it up for discussion to figure out how to make this work.
And what
It's an
the
investigation.
opportunities are.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
worry that if we get the ball rolling, it's whether we want it or not.
And I would say this isn't necessarily getting the ball rolling. This is identifying there could be a ball one day, and then here's a track. But we don't have any balls to put on the track yet,
I'll bet it's closer than you think.
perhaps. But when you get a plan that someone really likes, sometimes they find a way to make the money happen. So I guess I'm more on the idealistic, probably naive side
Yeah.
about it.
Being a naysayer. Sorry.
We need opposition.
Had we not just got our taxes the last week, wouldn't have been as bad.
2 weeks too late.
Yeah. Okay.
Is there a motion out there?
I move that we recommend approval of the Parks and Open Space Master Plan and its associated IFFP.
I'll second.
Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Vice Chair Erickson,
Yes.
Commissioner Tippett,
Yes?
Commissioner Snow,
Yes.
Commissioner Lidke,
Yes.
Commissioner Kasparian.
Yes.
Thank
The
you.
motion passes.
So have fun at City Council. And thank you for the presentation. That was
Thank you
very
for
thorough.
being here.
For letting us come.
All right. Next up on the agenda, we have our staff update and other business. First is a discussion on potential code language changes regarding commercial square footage in the TODO zone, the Transit-Oriented Development Overlay. And Wendelin will present. This is just a discussion, so.
Yeah, no voting.
I can't be negative.
You can be
negative
as you want.
Yeah, if you want to be negative, this is the
Sorry, I
time,
didn't mean to be
Dustin.
negative. I'm sitting there looking at in there.
Yeah.
I prefer not to call it negative, it's just feedback.
Yeah,
Right,
feedback.
thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks
for that.
So we appreciate your negative feedback.
Yeah. Don't come back.
So this is a discussion. The reason why this is coming up, and we as staff decided to bring this to you, is that we've gotten some feedback on the transit-oriented development overlay zone. It seems things in the development community start to move forward a little more than they were maybe a year or 2 years ago. And so we've gotten some inquiries on projects. And if you remember, we changed some provisions in the TOD zone. One of those provisions is that we have 2 mapped areas in the ordinance. This is around the Center Street track station and then around the Fort Union track station. And these areas require mixed use. And there are currently provisions in the ordinance that put some numbers around that and a method. If you look at this, we're talking about the 50% of the building footprint area. That's a requirement in these mapped areas that any project is supposed to have. Of course, there are economics behind this. The idea behind this portion of our development code is that this requirement is offset by the ability to have very tall buildings and very high densities.
Then the second aspect that we wanted to talk about is where this is applied and how it's modified. Here the second sentence says, buildings that front on Fort Union Boulevard may not contain office uses along that frontage on the first story. It's a similar idea as we discussed with the form-based code just outside of our building here, that if you have commercial uses on the main floor, and especially commercial uses that encourage pedestrian activity, then we'll see some synergistic effects of that will help everyone run maybe an additional business on Main Street, or businesses feed off of each other, and it just adds pedestrian activity. So with that in mind, this being the current code language, the concepts that we see for possible projects all have a hard time with the minimum 50% of the building footprint area as commercial space. Part of what you also have to keep in mind is the construction method of choice is oftentimes what's called podium parking. So the parking is internalized in the building on that first floor. And that also, of course, means there's only so much other space left. And all of this, I'm not a developer, but all of this, of course, is also connected with the economics of can this building happen or not. Here's what we have been thinking about, and we just wanted to get your feedback if we are sort of on the right track with this. The idea is to change the paradigm behind our requirement, and to move away from a percentage of the building footprint. Instead, we are thinking about making it a percentage of the frontage of the building at a street. Since our main desire as a city is to encourage this walkability, and with that, walking activity. So that's one change we made here. The other change is that we added State Street and Center Street for the areas where we want uses other than offices, because offices oftentimes do not contribute much to people walking in. So that's really the idea, and we as staff wanted to just get some feedback from you if you think this is a viable option. Do you have other ideas?
So the first, how it reads now is 50% needs to be office and retail on the.
No,
Okay.
50%
No,
of
so
it has
I'll
to
just
be-
read it. The first story of any vertical or commercial mixed-use structure must consist of a minimum of 75% of the street-facing building facade as office, retail, or restaurant use.
And that's what you're proposing, but what it said before was 50% of the
Building
footprint.
building footprint area.
So does this make it so you can put office up front on the street facing, and then you could still do parking behind, podium parking behind? Is that what?
Yes, you require that you cover a substantial portion of the frontage. We really don't care how much square footage you give us, as long as the street frontage is covered. And the way it's set up right now, if you just look at the numbers, we require in a way possibly more. We say 75%. Earlier we said 50% of the footprint area.
So it's allowing a little bit more flexibility with the square footage of the commercial use. that would be
Yeah.
going into it.
Yes.
So that you could put parking behind it if you
Yeah.
needed to.
Yeah.
Yes.
So rather than limiting the parking to say 50% of the footprint, it could be 60 to 70, and then you could have smaller retail just facing the street.
Why 75? Why not 100? What is the
That's
spot?
what I was just wondering.
Ingress index, correct?
Yeah,
That's
there's,
still part of the,
ingress, egress.
like a door is still part of it.
Could that be?
Yeah.
But if it serves the upper, that's not necessarily for
Yeah.
the business.
Yeah, so you're saying just like just a stairway to go up, like not.
Or detract.
Or the
Or
drive?
into
Or a
the
drive
parking
through
garage
into
and
the
back.
park,
Yeah.
off
Yeah.
the main
And,
street.
and there's no science behind the 75%. You know? I will be honest.
We didn't have an impact study.
Yeah. So on a corner lot, could we change it to a higher amount so they could put the ingress and egress?
Sure, we could. Yeah.
So if they build on on the corner of Center Street and State Street, does that include Center Street and State Street? They'd have to have commercial?
Is that 75 feet?
Or
of
just
both?
one?
75% of both. Of each.
Of both.
So you have to have it on both,
Yeah.
on both frontage.
Yeah, so the way this is set up, I mean, in that case, you have double frontage or even triple, depending on what all you own. This basically right now says 75% of all these frontages.
I kind of like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like
think
that.
that's more the intent of what we're looking for, the activated spaces.
Yeah.
This satisfies it more than the 50%.
Yeah, I agree.
What's the downside to changing this?
I mean, the cause for manipulation here for me is, you build frontage that is, for those uses, but it's 5 feet deep and not really functional for any real reason, just so you fulfill that requirement for frontage.
We have to have a minimum square footage on retail, don't we?
I mean, it did before, but.
I mean,
this
to
would
have a
remove it.
business license, do we have to, is there like a minimum 1,000 square feet to have a business?
The business license doesn't really regulate that. I mean, that idea does exist in zoning in general. Many ordinances that you see will have, let's say, a minimum square footage for a residential unit. I don't know that our code has anything along those lines that applies to commercial space. Normally, the assumption is that there's some self-interest there and you'll create commercial space that's viable.
See what you're saying. Somebody.
Yeah, like a kiosk.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, you do all kiosks along the whole thing.
Yeah, but the developer's still going to want to create a space that can be sold, that can be rented.
That can be rented, and if they,
There's still that motivation. Like, I don't know how many kiosk retailers there are that are outside of a mall that want us.
I would say that if it's gonna make or break 70 units on top of this. He's putting kiosks.
Yeah.
I'll just jump in for 1 second. One of the reasons we thought of this is we received a concept plan that under our current code, and we've been finding this out with different concepts and developers, the 50% of that footprint, when you have parking underneath, it can't work. But we also need parking. So what we thought is we got a concept, and we're like, okay, this is a concept that we really like. How can we make it work? Because it doesn't work right now, and that's where we came up with this, is we used a concept that was turned in and they wanted feedback, and we're like, this is really what we're looking for, because they did provide close to that 75%, if not that amount, and all the residential was on top, and there was still some tuck under parking. We're like, this is really what we want to see to activate these streets. How can we make this work? And that's where this came from.
That's a great idea.
It's a great idea.
Could you put a percentage of depth?
Correct.
Or the building's 100 feet deep.
Yeah, you need 20% depth.
You need
or
20%
something.
depth.
Yeah.
I just don't want to run into getting too prescriptive and
That's true,
we
'cause that
turn,
makes it-
we turn into the designers.
Yeah, then it's difficult.
Yeah.
Let me jump in here. Probably the biggest thing, and we could probably ask Riley, the building official on this. I mean, for commercial stuff, I mean, they have to meet building code, obviously. So if, somebody wants to put, say, a restaurant or some small retail store, I mean, they have to meet building code for certain dimensions for things anyways. So that would probably drive Yeah, ADA requirements, all of that is, I mean, baked into zoning, but, more of the fine grain in the building code.
The other comment I'll add is, I think Salt Lake City around the Delta Center has done an excellent job of this, where they have, and I guess those aren't like livable spaces above, but they do podium parking with street front commercial in a really fabulous way. And so it'd be interesting to contrast the way they're doing it to the way we are and see if that there's something we can poach.
There's a spot in Sugar House, I can't remember the east, but very similar. And it seems to work.
Yeah. I just feel like this is down the line that will get us results and some of these lots built out.
And
I like it.
I
do too.
I really struggle with a developer trying to put commercial on, or, retail and restaurant use on the front that is unusable.
I mean,
That doesn't make sense. I just can't imagine a developer would waste his time and money. I mean, they can, but again, I think we get into the point of, are we going to design these buildings for them, or are we going to allow them to design their building under our code? And so I think...
But if I'm going to eat 1,000 square feet and make it not usable, but I'm going to get 75 units on top,
Yeah.
I'm eating 1,000 square feet.
Yeah, as someone that
And then
works
cross
to
your finger for the right,
Yeah, I work to manipulate between the lines like this all the time, and like finding those spaces where you are able to maximize for yourself.
Yeah.
So there's going to be somebody that does it.
Yeah.
If you don't close it, yeah.
But then again, then we go to the design.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, building codes they're pretty detailed. They're not going to tell you exactly, but once you get all the elements in there, you're going to go, oh, I need more square footage than I thought.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it's a good idea.
And we'll definitely discuss this with a building official and see where that falls. In general, I think it's a good idea for the city to not be too prescriptive when it's not really warranted. I mean, if you look at the form-based code for downtown, there are very specific reasons why we are very prescriptive. But there's also a different approach to developing, and we, in that sense, we are not the experts in many of these things, and we want the private sector to have the liberties to innovate, because this is not what we are trained for.
So could you add 75% of all street-facing?
Sure. Yeah. Sure.
Do we want that?
It doesn't hurt.
Because if you're on a corner lot, they could say, well, I have one side is 75%.
Yeah, and I think there's,
Or public road facing.
Yeah, see, there's
Because if you have a road that goes back to the parking, then are we going to scream because, hey, you don't have commercial facing your private road?
Yeah.
Rather than we want it on 72 State Center. That's what our real, in Fort Union, that's our real intent, is to have street facing, not private road facing.
Yeah, and I think there are quite a few nuances to this that I'm not sure we're quite ready yet to address on the fly, But I really appreciate your thoughts on this, and we'll look at this further. And maybe if you want, we can bring an example of where you could see what are the impacts on a potential development, and that may help us calibrate this a little more.
Yeah.
Without disclosing the conceptual, is there something that you could show us?
I think
that you guys like?
I think tonight I'm not ready
not
for
tonight,
that, but we can definitely do that.
Get all the labels taken off.
Yeah. Delabel it, show us what you like and what you don't like.
Black it out.
This helps push that type of development forward that we've been looking for.
Yeah.
And if we see some see issues, we can always work to amend the code again, and that's why this is before us relatively recently, is what we thought before, we thought was a good idea, but it just isn't.
In practicality, it's not working.
We're running into roadblocks, and so this is a way to help move that forward, and if we see things that we don't like, we can rein it in a little bit.
The loopholders.
I like it because it helps parking. So if they're going to have retail, everybody's not going to park out on the main road.
Yeah.
They're going to provide parking because they can.
Yeah.
And it's not going to hinder their project.
And that kind of parking's not always,
And again, it becomes shared parking too, rather
Yeah.
than.
yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Good innovation. Good job, guys.
great. So the other thing I wanted to talk about is that the City Council approved the form-based code yesterday night. The changes that you recommended, and the transportation connectivity plan was also approved yesterday.
Were there any like big comments?
No, the transportation connectivity plan, there were really no big comments at all. I mean, they all thought that's a good idea. And I mean, we hope that this will help us with finding funding for projects. So with regard to the parks plan that we talked about earlier today, I just wanted to make sure that you're all aware that the city is actually already also working in the eastern part of the city to get some facilities in place. So we are working with UDOT, and we're still in the process of choosing a consultant to get hopefully a buffered bike lane in on 900 East. Could also become a multi-use trail. We're not sure that is an option. And this would be from our northern city boundary to immediately south of Hillcrest. And there's a bike lane there that ends in that area, so it would provide some continuity. And the city is also working on a pedestrian crossing on 700 East. The engineering department has some funding for that, and this would be on 700 East, quite a bit north of Fort Union, somewhere in that area. Because that has come up before in the past, that it's hard to cross the street.
There have been a lot of complaints about that.
Yeah. And then the next item and last one is really the APA conference. All of you who had some time to attend a session or two, is there anything that you came away with that you thought we should keep in mind, look at, gather some ideas from?
I did end up ordering a new skirt because of the APA conference. So they did a presentation on the ballpark neighborhood and how they're going to adaptive reuse part of the stadium. So they're not going to get rid of it all, but keep some of it because the expansion joints lined up. But part of the project that they prioritized is daylighting some of the creeks that go through Salt Lake County. And so it's a convergence area where 3 creeks, like Red Butte and two others, come together, and they're currently underneath 1300 South in like a culvert. And so they're going to daylight them as part of the ballpark project.
Oh, that's cool.
And so the group who does the conservation for these creeks, because they had like the mountain preservation people and they had the Great Salt Lake preservation people, but they didn't have the in-between people. So they have their own organization, and they have a map of where all the creeks are currently, and they put that on fabric and made skirts, and it was adorable. So that's my story.
Very nice.
I was wondering where the skirt would fit.
Yeah, like, where's the skirt going?
The presenter had one on, and I was like, that is a nerdy skirt. I like it.
I got one quick question that I meant to ask earlier. On our water storage that we're looking to get from Midvale, the water storage tank that we had talked about a while ago, and it may have been not at a meeting. It may have been at something that I went to. Would that include parks? Like, would we put parks on something like that if we found a place to put water?
Yeah, potentially, yeah.
It would be a good pairing.
Kill two birds with one stone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you can do that with detention areas too.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So are we still active looking?
I haven't heard about that in a while, but I believe we are. I believe Glenn's still looking at that.
Because that would help the east side that you guys are worried about.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because it's higher.
yeah, true. Any other APA conference?
It was huge, and the seats were too comfortable.
Oh,
I did.
right.
They were, because it was at the IMAX.
Yeah, it was at the movie theater, yeah.
And then they got their schedule off, and so they showed a 1980s planning movie, and I quickly fell asleep.
They were desperate for something to show up.
Anyway, but it was lovely.
I mean, it was interesting. Someone from Salt Lake was talking about how they changed their zoning. They only have 6 zones total now, and that was a little wild. Am I right? It was 6, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Mayor Mendenhall, I think, mentioned
Oh, yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only APA conference where you had to go through a metal detector. That was a bit funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, good
Those
times.
planners.
I know,
Yeah, they're
Dangerous
deadly.
people.
their reputation preceded them.
Yeah. Johnny, is there anything that you came home with?
Other than a skirt. That I did not buy.
Right.
I mean, there was this, with the whole parks conversation going on, there was a presentation on was it Playful Learning Landscapes, I think is what it's called. Just like bringing in, art pieces or just, educational opportunities into, public spaces, whether it's sidewalk, park. I mean, they had examples of bus stops and whatnot that, it's these like interactive pieces that, for kids, for adults, etc. That it was, I thought it was pretty cool, and it's something that I think we'll probably definitely try to, especially with, Main Street, future parks especially, and upgrades to them, I think would be a pretty good, easy improvement, so.
Yeah, Johnny stole one of my items. I had 2. The other one that I had that I found was quite interesting. One of the keynotes was about youth involvement, and I've been sort of thinking about, can we involve youth with the planning commission somehow? So that may be something to think.
Johnny's not youth.
I don't think Johnny would agree.
Barely.
So,
Only 6 years passed, no.
yeah. So anyway, that's all I had for today.
Excellent, thank you.
You're welcome.
I did go to a football game.
A football game?
Yeah, Hillcrest.
Oh,
How bad did they get smoked?
Yeah. We got rain delayed.
Okay.
how was the marching band?
It was great.
The band is good.
Yeah.
They are sounding so much better. So, and I think
But
they
they're
played-
new. They're new. I mean, they've only been around.
I think this is their 30th.
Yeah, they haven't been around very long.
But once I wrote that letter, I think they've been playing louder in my general direction. I will say. All right. Do you want to adjourn?
I would love to, but I don't know what
Will
time it
someone
is.
call it for me?
I make a motion that we adjourn at 7:18.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?